If you think about like the venture market or anybody that's looking to make an investment, like what they're looking for is they want to invest in businesses and products and services where there's traction. Traction means that people are buying your product, not that you're selling the product.
Welcome to another episode of Uncensored Direct Marketing. Today, I have Dave Fink of Postie, which is an all-in-one direct mail platform. Dave has had a very long past in online marketing and online businesses. He has helped orchestrate a sale of Dollar Shave Club to Unilever for $1 billion. So that's a really big feat that we're going to talk about also with Dave. And he's also been involved with advertising for brands for the likes of Jessica Simpson, Kate Bosworth, the Olsen twins, just to name a few, if you've never heard of these people. And obviously, I'm very excited to have Dave here because we're going to be talking a lot about direct mail and the AI revolution and Facebook ads and everything that has to do with online marketing. As we get in to our discussion, can you tell us just a little bit about what is Postie and obviously, what's been keeping you busy the last couple of years?
Sure. So like most of your listeners, I would assume I grew up in the digital era, started my career in 1999 and just was one of those lucky people to graduate and end up in the internet space and kind of has taken this 2-decade ride. And most of the businesses that I've been involved with have either been direct-to-consumer brands that relied on being able to compete with bigger competitors because we understood data and quantitative and performance marketing, kind of user economics and building those direct relationships with consumers. And then the other half of the businesses were marketing technology platforms that always kind of enabled us to get value out of whatever the emerging digital channel was. So, Postie is a little bit of a departure from that in some respects, but in others, it's right square in the middle there. So the idea was, we started Postie about 7 years ago at a time when Facebook became hard. We had all ridden the 6-7 years to fame and the level of scale and their investment in machine learning and data science and Facebook for a long time made us all look like really smart marketers. And then it got really expensive, right? Everybody, wanted a piece of that marketplace, and there was a time when I think everyone listening to the show, showed up, to work every day and had a nervous stomach. It was like, is Facebook's algorithm going to be friendly today or punitive? And depending on that, made the difference on if today was a profitable day or not. And so we started spending a bunch of time thinking about the expectation of scale that Facebook and Google in particular provided is something that we rely on, the ability to leverage our first party data and third party data and be highly sophisticated with targeting, segmentation, and optimization. That's really important. What are other channels that we could bring those capabilities to? And in digital, there just really wasn't anything.
Okay.
It was, if you think back to 2016 or so, there was no TikTok. It was still ByteDance and a fun
Vine.
Sure. Yeah. Vine. Gosh, I hadn't thought about that in a while. Vine existed. I think it was kind of on its way out. And Snap existed, but didn't have an ads platform at all. And so we started looking offline, and in offline, the one channel that could be done, executed quantitatively was direct mail. It's an addressable channel. You're reaching individuals at specific households. There's a wealth of third-party data that can be used for targeting optimization. You can, run your same, personalization strategies and creative testing and offer testing. And so we got excited about it, and we set out to leverage that channel and really quickly learn there was no technology, there was no software layer. It was literally getting on the phone with print brokers or paper supply managers. It was trying to license data from anywhere you could find it. It was huge investment in your own internal data science teams, and so that discouraging initial experience led us to this idea of like, hey, like maybe it's possible to build the ad serving solution to make direct mail more usable, behave more similarly to the digital channels that we had all grown up with. So that's what, that's the path to get here, but also what Postie is. Postie is the first and most scalable programmatic ads platform specific to direct mail.
Well, that's awesome. So it's funny in this digital age where everybody's, going onto Facebook and to YouTube. YouTube's a big one as well, and different properties, TikTok and so forth. You went kind of back in time and built out a channel that needs love. I mean, because when you get something in the mail, I mean, at least for me, right? I look at it. Most of the time you at least look at it. An ad you might glaze over on Facebook, but when you're getting something in your mailbox, most of the time it's getting seen by somebody. So that's a really, interesting and unique angle that I'm surprised that nobody thought of earlier, right, to capitalize on. So that's really, that's really exciting. And I mean, is this something that in terms of conversion, so we can get into the kind of tactical, in terms of conversion, does it convert almost the same, or does it convert better than, for example, traditional ad platforms like Facebook or YouTube or, all the big ones?
Yeah, it converts better. And it has to, because the cost of reaching an individual through mail is noticeably more expensive than a newsfeed ad or a programmatic display ad. So in order for that channel to work competitively from a CPA perspective or a return on ad spend perspective, the conversion rates need to be higher. And we see that all the time. From a pure results perspective, again, that NKPI, whether it's a lifetime value goal or a CPA goal or a ROAS goal, the channel performs as strongly as any of your top digital channels. Wow. And that is, it's a combination of, I mean, obviously that doesn't mean that every campaign that you execute is going to be a winner, but with the investment, with smart targeting, with appropriate execution, with a little bit of again, effort, just like you would put into any channel, it's a monsterly scalable and successful channel.
Yeah, I mean, you need a good product, you need good advertising, and then obviously you need the right channels for the tech side to get things. But that's with any platform, right? Even with Facebook, if you have an ad, it's not because you put it on Facebook, it'll actually convert. So, for me, the scary thing, and I think one thing that's interesting about what you're doing, there's a lot less like kind of rules, you know what I mean? Like in the sense of like you can mail out anything you like and, get it delivered within reason. Obviously, you don't want to do anything illegal, but on Facebook, a lot of marketers, especially, when Facebook had their recent algorithm change a couple of years back, and, with iOS making changes on cookies and so forth, like there's businesses that got completely obliterated, like overnight. And some people and some merchants, what they do is they focus on one channel, like, oh, Facebook, oh, we're doing great at Facebook, let's kill Facebook. And then Facebook makes an internal decision and then your business is gone. So this is a way of almost controlling your own data and your own marketing, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, there's different approaches to building businesses and there's different levels of scale within businesses. And I've played on both sides. I've worked with, and been a part of, several $100 million, a year businesses on the brand side. We work with multi-billion dollar corporations at Postie. And I've been involved in building direct to consumer businesses from the ground up, where you got excited about your first $10 of revenue. And then, when you hit that first $1 million, that was a huge day. And when you hit your first 10 million, that was an enormous day. But a lot of those kind of scrappy early day affiliate, capitalize on knowing a specific channel or not, we're a bit more opportunistic businesses, and those are live by the sword, die by the sword businesses, right? If you were a search arbitrage business in the early 2000s, at some point, Panda is going to come out and the algorithm is going to wipe out what you're doing, because their goal is to, Google's goal is to serve the searcher, right? It's not to help affiliate marketers or performance marketers make money. they need to make, their business runs on ad dollars, but their product is designed to try and provide benefit to the end user. And their philosophy is, if we do that well, then advertisers will get value as well. And I've played in that space, but that's a painful space. That's literally businesses like you said. I've witnessed, fortunately not been a part of, but witnessed many friends who had kind of businesses built on one media channel, one trick ponies that did very well, made a lot of money for a long time, and the business is gone. Zero. Not lost 50% of the revenue, just gone, doesn't work anymore. Plenty of businesses were built on Google, plenty of businesses were built on email back in the day, plenty of businesses were built on SMS, plenty of businesses built on social, Facebook in particular. But then you look at the other, the other end of the spectrum, and it's lasting brands, and not that everything's rosy and perfect on that side of the world. That's hard too. But when you make an investment in bringing a valuable product to market, telling us an authentic story, holding true, and to sharing that value proposition and that mission behind the product or service or brand, and looking for all the different ways to engage your customer base, there's less risk. Doesn't mean that there aren't still big channels that you rely on. Could be TV, could be social, could be search, but your mission isn't to become a search-based business or a social-based business. Your goal is to build a brand. And when you do that, the investment that you make across all different channels that your prospect customers and CRM is engaging with gives you sustaining power. It's also not about, hey, the tricks of making Facebook work. It's about, how do we tell our story most authentically in this specific channel, and that's translatable to different channels.
Yeah. And I mean, just to kind of build up on that, the consumer has evolved from the early days of the internet. The internet's really only been around 20 years, where most people are using it. I would say the last 10, where it's kind of become a part of everyday life. So, obviously, if you're starting out, you want to build one channel maybe, but then as you keep growing, it's important not to be that one trick pony, is now to look at TV or mail or other media platforms and so forth. Because I think the word of the decade is going to be omni-channel. People are going from real world to online world to different platforms and using it different ways. So you almost have to be a little bit everywhere, with some focus, I guess, on your major channels. But just kind of talking a little bit more about the direct mail and the response time and so forth. Are people who are building ads online, I'm talking about maybe copywriters or marketers and so forth, are they able to translate it well, on mail? Is that a different skill set that you need?
No, not at all. It's a common question that we get, especially from brands that grew up in the digital era and maybe had never, invested a single penny in the direct mail channel. Yeah. They kind of show up and they're oftentimes very nervous. We don't know how to design for direct mail, and and they think that there's this whole other set of characteristics. And the reality is, at the end of the day, it's a piece of media that's engaging with a customer or prospect. Yeah. And so when you think about best practices in email, in landing pages, in banners, there's certainly tactics that can work, right? I'm a believer in behavioral economics and flashing things in certain colors and words that elicit emotion. All that stuff can work, but at the end of the day, if you found a certain style, a certain language that you're using, certain set of images, lifestyle images, product images, etc., that are doing a thorough job, appropriate job, accurately, authentically telling your story, and that's working on your landing pages and working in your email and working in your newsfeed ads, etc. You don't want to reinvent the wheel in any channel, certainly not direct mail. You want to take those learnings and carry them into the canvas that you're working on, whether it's a postcard or a letter or multi-panel folded piece. it's the basic blocking and tackling should be carried right through, as should all the good brand value that you've built. The idea is not like you have to do something different for direct mail for the most part. There's certainly more performance marketing type businesses that have found a tactic that works and they stick with it. But most brands find success by being authentic to who they are and leveraging all the learnings that they have across all their digital channels and just carrying that over into direct mail.
So I mean, essentially, what you're saying is, in summary, I feel like you create a brand strategy and then there could be some tweaks between the different things. But what you're doing with your direct mail, you're sending maybe people to your online channel. So there has to be almost a little bit of coordination there and some brand recognition. Is there certain products or certain demographics that do better with direct mail versus, online channels or other things in your experience?
The answer, the different answer to each of those questions. So demographics, we've done a number of studies looking at conversion rate and various KPI achievement by age demographic. And I think there was this preconceived notion that, direct mail is a channel that is better tailored and suited to an aging demographic. It's an old school channel. We did not find that to be the case. We actually found millennials were the highest converting segment.
I was going to say that too. I was going to say it feels like it's 65 plus that would be more fruitful for that market.
Yeah, and I think that the only reason that it's just kind of like a thought that maybe makes sense and easy to conclude from the idea of early adopters to technology are younger. And so if people are younger who gets technology quicker, then obviously people who are responding to media that isn't technology driven are older, but that's just a false, conclusion. There's no, and the data doesn't suggest that. The other piece to think about is we're not in 1999 anymore. When I started my career, it was this idea of early adopters. But, if you think about people that were even sophisticated mid-career in their 40s back when, the internet really started picking up steam, that was, call it 2000, we're almost 25 years down the road. Those people are in their mid 60s now, or even early 70s.
Interesting to think about. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're covering it. The mobile phone revolution happened in the mid 2000s, right? We're 20 years past that. Yeah, so now we'll see.
I always think it's 1990 when I think about
it. But it's not, right? Yeah. And so if you think about that, it makes perfect sense that the demographic that responds to different channels has
it's kind of much closer. Yeah. But is there certain products, would you say lower cost products, things that are under $100, for example, work better? Is it more like health beauty stuff? Is there one kind of, if somebody's listening, they're like, hey, I have a beauty brand. Is this something that I should be looking at? Or I have a coaching business, or whatever the case is. Is there one, there's some people who have products that are sold for thousands of dollars. Would that work on, in my impression, again, I don't know anything about this, but again, I would think more sub $100 products would work better than big ticket items.
No. So there's one category of product that is tough to make work in DM, and that's super inexpensive, and super inexpensive without some built-in, lifetime value. Whether it's recurring revenue. So, if you just think about the cost of reaching an individual through direct mail, it's noticeably more expensive than a newsfeed ad that maybe a few pennies, and so when you think about the necessary conversion rate, you can kind of back into the math of what happens if I need to acquire a customer for $5? You would need a really high conversion rate. And the reality is, if you're a $5 business, you're limited to really inexpensive, viral driven media channels to make work. Even if you have some recurring revenue, you're a subscription, gum business, and your average, subscription, monthly subscription charge is $5. you're making $60 in lifetime revenue or annualized lifetime revenue. There's some margin in there. Your cost per acquisition might need to be $15. That those businesses are tough to make work.
Yeah.
Beyond that, beauty, which is a range of average order value from $40 to a couple $100 for high-end skincare, one of our top performing categories.
Wow.
Automotive, which are $70,000 transactions, one of our top performing categories.
Oh, okay.
Consumer lending, insurance, several $1,000 high consideration conversion type categories, incredibly effective in DM. Housing market, hundreds of thousands of dollars, average order value, highly effective. So the DM, because of the nature of the weightiness of the media, because of the targeting capabilities, because of the test and optimization capabilities, the gamut of product categories ranges very broad that can be effective with it. It's just you gotta be careful if you're a very low end AOV type product. Okay. And again, a single digit, you know.
Well, I mean, also in health and beauty, I feel like sometimes you get a sample of something and that really kind of, you're always online trying to relay benefits of product. But if you give somebody like a little something, it's like if they try it, that could help a lot. But, the interesting thing for me is this is a new world for me because I work in the online space and I always, I find sometimes going back to something that people are paying less attention to actually has the biggest impact. So kind of talking about the fact that it's an older industry, meaning an older idea industry, but now with new age technology, like for example, AI, and like you're talking a lot about segmenting and so forth. Like obviously when you're segmenting on a platform like Facebook or YouTube, it's like, you're checking off a couple of things and you're testing things, you're getting instant feedback a day or so later. Does this work? Does this not work? So is there on the technology front and like specifically AI, because it's, it's the hot topic of the year. Are there things that will help you be successful in your direct mail campaign a lot faster now because of these new tools? And, obviously what are they? How are they working?
Yeah. So look, like everybody else, I'm obsessed with AI. It's hard not to be. It's exciting. It's the first big kind of potential platform shift that we've seen since mobile. And it's just really cool, quite frankly. I guess, there's a little bit of like apprehension and it's a little bit scary out there too. But for the most part, I think it's just really interesting and thinking about, we talked, I think that the world's wising up to how AI works a little bit and understanding it's algorithmic based and mathematic and probability. And those are all things that especially marketers have been working with, maybe not at that complicated level for a long time. I think like it's going to be fascinating. I saw some stat just last week that said something like 200 AI businesses raised over $5 million in the last like 14 days. It's going to be an absolute land grab. And we lived through this twice already, right?
Yes.
Some people, have lived through it 3 times with the hardware revolution in the 80s and 90s. But, for me, it was Web 1.0 and hits to our website and every crazy idea known to humankind hit the market. Anybody selling any product, was going to be, the days of toys.com and they're going to take over, Toys R Us, and then they imploded and then Toys R Us imploded, and everybody needing an internet strategy. And then you fast forward to the mobile revolution, and it was, do you remember how hard it was to hire a mobile engineer?
Oh yeah.
It was impossible, right? Because everybody needed a mobile strategy. And was it a mobile first strategy or was it a mobile second strategy, incremental? And then after a while, like that kind of ran its course and mobile just became just like we talked about marketing channels and omnichannel. Like you can't be a Facebook company. You can't be an internet company. You can't be a mobile company. You're a company. You're selling a product or a service. The more channels and the more ways you have to engage with your customer, the better. Now there's going to be this AI wave of, initially tools being built on, OpenAI and on top of ChatGPT. And that's kind of what we've seen so far. And those are like Yeah, those are the opportunistic type businesses, but they're definitely going to be AI first, businesses that are created that could be fundamental and foundational. And then there's going to be a time when everybody just it's going to be, what is your AI strategy? And then eventually there's AI as a part of it. Just how do you make your consumer, your buyer, your customer's life easier, more efficient? How do you help them access more value from your product and service? And you do that through efficiency. And that's something that's really what AI is all about. There's certainly talk about replacing jobs and all that stuff, but I think in the end, it's to me, the anxiety is almost for my team, where it's the expectation that we're going to have for employees in the future are going to be that they're going to be able to do so much because they have all these tools to automate lots of parts of their job. And those people that are doing so efficiently and can move a mile a minute and be dialed in 8 hours a day and really focused are going to be super valuable. And those people that are more about coffee breaks and taking their time and showing up.
Not so much.
Probably not so much.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing for me in terms of AI, and obviously I was there in the late 90s as everything kind of changed. And, with every big kind of technology shift, it's always been like, this is going to get rid of jobs. Nobody's going to have anything to do. And I'm like, well, all computers did and the internet did has created more jobs, more opportunities, taken more people out of, poverty and given, it always surprised me when people say, oh, it's so hard to start a company. I'm like, no, it was hard 30 years ago. You had to go places and talk to people and sign documents. You can get a corp in like a day. That good to go. Let's go. So bank account, you go on an online site, like everything's so easy now. I think that, we've almost become complacent. And I think that moving forward, AI, if it mimics everything we've seen so far, it'll create more jobs. There'll be more opportunity, more things to do. So obviously, kind of the lower end jobs, maybe some of the service jobs that can be done by a machine or factory work. But ultimately, 100 years ago, people were all farmers and now nobody's not, but there's still jobs for everybody. So just kind of shift. But is there anything that you're doing right now in Postie that is specifically using AI?
Well, I would say our company foundation was built on data. So, we knew coming from a quant world that our place in the world wasn't going to be just focusing on branding. And we were going to be held accountable for driving performance and measurability and helping brands and companies that leverage the Postie platform, software technology, to have better insights into their customer behavior, leverage that first party data as liquid gold, activated in the direct mail space in addressable ways, and constantly drive towards testing, optimization, iteration, and performance gains. And the big part of that is the targeting component. What we learned about mathematical capabilities over the last decade is that it is possible to do some pretty extraordinary things, create much more predictiveness, eliminate a lot of the risk and waste in your media budget, learn and scale faster. So from day one, it's more ML than AI, but Postie V1 was built on a big data engine and a machine learning predictive modeling stack that got smarter over time. And so things like, while we haven't yet built in the AI onto the content side of things, there is AI that's helping automate decision-making around how to cluster your thousands and thousands of features on top of millions of customer records in order to understand the unique micro segments and the behaviors that differentiate between different groups of your CRM. It's how do you then overlay and recognize the third-party data sets that are most predictive for your business at this specific time. All of that AI has just built into the platform and was before
it became in.
And that's kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, where there certainly are going to be these foundational businesses built on AI. And then there are going to be businesses that are selling tennis rackets where they need to have an AI strategy with their chatbot and customer service, or their string tension selection and can help guide you to making decisions without you having to read through dozens and dozens of paragraphs of content.
Oh, well, that's amazing. And, I think AI, like you said, it's just going to touch a whole bunch of different things, not just marketing, not just we're focusing really on the marketing side, the writing and so forth, but there's other things, machine learning for numbers, and even in payments, in the payment industry that I'm in, there's a million use cases for AI to predict when a transaction is going to decline versus when it's going to get approved and what you can do with it and so forth. So I think it's just going to make us all more productive. I'm excited for one, that's for sure. I just want to get a little bit into your experience because you've worked, obviously, you've mastered the direct mail, but you also have a good background in online channels and, Facebook ads was one thing, but is there one platform that right now, just as a marketer and somebody who's interested in the industry, that you're like, that's the platform, that's the one that's actually killing it, that's the one where you can get the biggest bang for your buck? And, let's talk about a little bit more kind of direct to consumer industries, selling products, selling, things that consumers buy.
Not really.
Okay.
I said a little tongue in cheek. Look, Facebook and Instagram still are beasts. We're seeing, more brands are still having success there. There's a much lower ceiling. So very few brands are in an era where they can go from 0 to $150 million a year over 3-4 years, 2 years, even in some cases, just by having a Facebook first strategy like that. Like it's very hard. With that being said, Facebook's a really great, efficient place to start learning how to present your brand to, into the world. It's, the tools are fast moving. It's easy to get results quicker. Search, brand search in particular, look, the more intent that there is out there for the product and services you sell, the better off you are. So obviously PPCs are as high as ever, but you're talking about intent-based marketing. Like if you have a business that people are searching for, you got to maximize your content strategy, your organic listings, and then you have to invest in brand recognition so that you're actually driving more efficient intent traffic into your branded search. We're seeing more and more brands allocating budget to TikTok. We'll see what happens with federal regulation and whatnot.
If it's going to be around next year.
Look, depends who which politician you talk to. But there's certainly a movement away from Facebook and onto TikTok. A lot of that's coming from influencer marketing, but TikTok certainly has had a monetization first strategy, which is different than, I think a very, very different than Snap. Snap had a user engagement product first approach, which I think is very noble. And then they moved into how do we monetize and make money. TikTok has a product that caught wind, or caught fire and immediately went to monetization. It's omni-channel. I mean, look, I'm a big believer in don't just build business opportunistically because you think you can sell some products. Try and solve a problem. It doesn't have to be a major. You have to feed the hungry and solve homelessness, but it could be there's a gap in the beauty and skincare space that is underserved, and you've worked with a formulator to create a product you think services that, and then invest in your storytelling, make it authentic, build your brand, leverage the beauty of all the earned media that's out there, ranging from your own YouTube strategy, your own social video strategy, your own editorial content strategy. Then get your feet wet with your paid media strategy. Facebook's a great one. Obviously, you're going to leverage search, and then as you scale over time, you build your CRM strategies. Email becomes more important. Your own website, your own assets. And certainly direct mail when you're ready to scale and you've kind of gotten your blocking and tackling on your messaging and you understand the basics around your segments and you've done, you've gotten some traction with the with the less expensive media channels, then all of a sudden it's time to put, fuel on the fire and you go aggressively in those channels. You add DM, you add addressable TV, you add linear TV, you add performance TV, you test radio. Like it's everything. It really is. I'm a big believer in omnichannel.
Well, the thing that I'm thinking, just in closing, if you can give us, because as a marketer and somebody who's coming in this industry, maybe making $20,000-$30,000 a month, just kind of starting out and really building their business, it seems like a huge mountain to climb, because now you're saying, well, now you have to be everywhere all the time, and it's a tough. I'm not saying I'm paraphrasing very kind of loosely what you said, but if just based on your experience, and just if we were to summarize, somebody who's coming in with a direct to consumer business, regardless of what segment it is, what is their best path? You know what I mean? Like, yes, I agree that direct mail and television is probably something that has to happen after, but like, how do you now, with all these different channels, how do you decide? And obviously you have a limited budget, right? Because having to do this on multiple platforms can get really, really expensive, especially if you're tanking on one of them, right? So can you give us like a quick, couple of tips on like how you would right now in this day and age build a direct to consumer business that's, generating, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, not an unlimited budget kind of business?
It's a little bit tougher for me because I've been away from that space for a little bit. I've been involved in bigger businesses and now, a pretty sizable technology platform business. So, I can certainly, I know that, that year by year, decade by decade, the efficient channels change a little bit. We haven't seen that rapidity of change as fast with the dominance of Facebook and Google holding, court for so long. The idea is, look, you don't have to be superhuman to start a business, but it's not for everybody. And the people that are successful have gray hair sooner and bags under their eyes. They're working hard. And I don't want to scare people off, but it's not supposed to be easy. Yeah. And if you're looking for lifestyle and you want to be at all, your kids, school plays and baseball games and, shutting down at 4 p.m. on Friday and going and playing golf or whatever it is you do, not working over the weekend, like probably shouldn't be for you. But there's also a reason why those people that build businesses have potential to have disproportionate income, because it is hard. It does take knowledge. It takes a lot. It's, you have to be relentless. With that being said, look, time management's everything. So, we just talked about AI for a while. You got to leverage tools. You have to think about, you have to put effort into your planning. You have to schedule your week. You have to accept that you're not going to be able to accomplish everything you want every day or every week or every month or every quarter. You build your plans and you think about, you double down where things are working. And so even though I'm talking a big game about omnichannel, the realize, when I talk about the omnichannel that we just went through, that's not reasonable for a $40,000 a month business.
Yeah. For sure.
That's not reasonable probably for a $400,000 a month business. Yeah,
we're talking 7 figures plus is where you start kind of going through a lot of channels and so forth. But I like the interesting thing that you said is that, it's not for everybody and it shouldn't be for everybody, right? And it's not bad if you're not meant to do this. It's just everybody has to kind of find their track. Yeah, you find your track. And there's people very happy to be working somewhere and providing a certain service. So that's, and then as a business owner, I think the important lesson from what I got from you and as you're starting your business, as you're scaling, is have a plan. Create your brand first, decide where you're going. What are you selling? How does this work? What are the basic lines of your brand? And then, start testing on smaller scales. So that, I like that. And I like that realistic approach, because I think a lot of people are just trying to sell a whole bunch of stuff to people that it cannot be used.
Yeah, I think I love that point. I mean, the way I would sum that up is that when you're starting a business and you're thinking about the amount of effort and the potential risk, financial and stress and interpersonally, that you're going to put into this venture, you shouldn't be going out and saying, "Can I sell this product or service?" The question you're looking for an answer to is, do people want to buy this product or service? Because there are great salespeople and they're great marketers and they could sell and market anything, But at some point, it's going to get really hard. It's not going to last. The lifetime value is not going to be there because you're not going to have good word of mouth. You're not going to have good retention. And then it's a really hard business. And if you think about like the venture market or anybody that's looking to make an investment, like what they're looking for is they want to invest in businesses and products and services where there's traction. Traction means that people are buying your product, not that you're selling the product. So doesn't mean that it downplays marketing and salespersonship. Like you need that, like 100%, but it's a heck of a lot better if you're selling something and finding ways to do it more efficiently when you've already proven there's a market out there that wants to buy it. They just need to understand about it, learn about it, recognize it, be introduced to it.
Well, yeah, basically the olden days of just like finding anything that sells on Amazon, throwing it on there and really marketing it to get it to people's doors and in their hands is gone. Right now, people are looking for value. Buyers are aware of, scams and so forth. And there's so many that, you have to have a real product. So a lot of people focus and spend so much money on marketing, but like, have you looked at what you're selling? What are you selling? Is this something that people want? If people don't want it, yeah, your business is going to last 6 to 12 months and then you're gone. So, right. Everybody listening, that's a really key point is that if your product is crap, I mean, you can throw all the money in the world to it and advertise it. Maybe you'll make a little bit of money, but it's not sustainable. So it really depends on what your goals are. If you just want to quick hit and disappear, there's people who do want that. You don't want to have a sustainable business. But in this case, if you want to build a brand, and obviously we're talking to entrepreneurs, is, the focus right now is on omni-channel, it's on product, it's on value. And then obviously your money is going to be well spent. Your resources are going to be well spent on buying traffic for it's a pyramid. Your foundation has to be good before you can move on to the higher levels. So thank you so much, Dave. That was super informative. And I know we're going to have all your contact information down here below, guys. If you're interested in direct mail, Dave's your guy. I mean, you have to, reach out to him and see how you can scale your business beyond the online channels. I really appreciate your time, Dave, and have yourself a great day.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed the conversation too. It is super fun.
Hope you found today's session valuable. If you have any questions for me or just want to connect, please feel free to visit my website, mariasparagis.com. That's mariasparagis.com. I'd love to hear what you're working on, so drop me a line on any hot button issues your business is experiencing. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once.